that nearly 3/4 of all Americans have been preyed upon and fallen victim to some type of cyber crime. This is identity theft, damaging secrets being revealed, even information being held hostage for ransom payments. Wow, that last one sounds like stuff right out of the movies. It could happen to you or a loved one. And my next guest is here because he wants to prevent this from happening, and also to let you know about National Data Privacy Day, which is tomorrow, January 28th. And he is Evan Franson from FRSecure. Hi there, Evan.
Hi, Roxini. How are you?
I am doing well, but and much better than those 75% of Americans who have fallen victim to these cybercrimes. Let's get into that statistic because it's really quite staggering.
Yeah. It's definitely too high.
Yeah, it's definitely too high. If you could describe to people what are some of the ways that the cybercrime happens.
Well, our information is everywhere. We share information online. We share information in social media like Facebook, Twitter. But then we also share information with the places that we work. We share information with the places we do business, banks, schools. So our information really is everywhere. So it's, in some cases, we're sort of helpless. But, the best we can do is really protect ourselves and take good computing practices with what we do and hope that everybody else is doing their part.
Exactly. I'm talking with Evan Francine from FRSecure. You can talk with him, too, if you want to text in a question or comment. Have you been a victim of some sort of cybercrime, identity theft, other things like that, your information getting into the wrong hands? Send me a text, 81807, or call us, 651-989-9226, or 866-989-9226. In just a moment, Evan is going to get into his 3 simple rules to get you started to protecting yourself. But Evan, we have a text that came in from a listener, and this person says, fully encrypted email has been available for many years now. Question 1, why doesn't everyone use it? Question 2, why doesn't anyone use it?
Right. Well, some people are, primarily businesses, and some businesses are sort of being forced to do it, by regulation, regulator or an examiner. Encrypted email has been around for a long time. I think a lot of people aren't even aware of it. When we use a word like encryption, people automatically kind of shut down. They think it's too technical. But there are great solutions out there for encrypted email. And if you can use it, use it.
Yeah, and what does that even look like? I mean, how do you know or are able to start using something like that?
Well, a lot of email. It does get sort of technical, but email like Gmail. When you're using Gmail, your connection to the Gmail system is encrypted. It's HTTPS. You'll see that in your browser. And depending on where you're sending email, if the mail server that's receiving the emails from Gmail will accept encrypted connections, but we'll rely on the IT folks on the other side to hopefully enable or install an encrypted email solution. But again, we can only do what we can do. And a lot of times we're dependent on other people to do their part as well.
Evan, I know you have some simple tips to get people started to really protect themselves. Can you get into those?
Yeah, absolutely. In our experience, 20 years of information security experience, we know that people are the most significant risk, and it's the habits, the attitudes that they take around security. So the 3 simple tips are, 1, to use 2-step or 2-factor authentication wherever you can. And what 2-factor authentication is, I'll enter in my username and password, and then I'll get a text back, and it'll be a 6-digit number, something like that. That second factor is me entering in that text, sometimes that 6-digit number, and that's the second factor. So the attackers might get my password, but they won't get my phone, so they won't get that text. Gmail, Yahoo Mail, MSN, they all have that feature. You just need to turn it on. So, look for that. Number 2 is to use strong passwords. And I often get the question, what makes a strong password? And the easiest way to remember it is long. So the longer the password, the stronger it is. That's the number one thing that you can do.
And Evan, it is so tough because it's hard to remember those things. I try to have them written down somewhere, but then, that can also be not very secure.
Sure. Well, writing it down would be more secure than choosing a poor password to begin with.
That's true.
If you absolutely had to write it down, what I tell people is, write it down and maybe put it in your wallet because you'll know if your wallet gets stolen.
Right. Or keep it away from where someone might actually think to look, as well as, where they're going to try to get into one of those accounts or things like that.
Right. Yep. And I think a lot of times people get caught up with passwords thinking that, it has to be super complex because sometimes, IT folks will make it, so we have to make it super complex. But really, if you make it long, so use a passphrase as opposed to a password. So maybe type out a short sentence and maybe put an exclamation point at the end. That would make...
Then no one would really think about, right?
Right. Yep. Exactly.
All right, we've got some calls coming in for you. If you want to talk with Evan, give us a ring, 651-989-9226 or 866-989-9226. You can also text us your questions or comments, 81807. So one of the things that I wanted to also mention, so I'm talking with Evan Frenzine from FRSecure. It is National Data Privacy Day tomorrow. What are some things that might be some benefits or that we should look for on that day?
Well, the third thing was to be aware, and I think that's the point of Data Privacy Awareness Day is the situational awareness, just to be aware that this is an issue. Be careful, how you're using your information, who you're sharing your information with. If something seems unusual with one of your devices, with your computer, don't just blow it off. It might be an indication that something bad has happened.
Exactly.
Like a virus.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's get into National Data Privacy Day. What's going on around the country? Is anything going on? Should we be looking for added ways to protect ourselves?
Well, I think there's a lot of awareness campaigns. If you go to, staysafeonline.org, that's the site where really that's the primary sponsor. So it comes from the National Cybersecurity Alliance. And so that on that website, there's a number of ways that you could get involved if you have something you can add, to the tips. Or if you want to teach online security, you can even participate that way. But there's a lot of good information on that website. There's some events that are happening kind of throughout the country that you could participate in. Things like that. It's really just to raise awareness.
Oh, exactly. I'm talking with Evan Frenzine from FRSecure in our remaining couple minutes with him. If you have questions or comments, give us a text, 81807, or call 866-989-9226. Here's a question or a comment that a listener is writing in. And they say, I would never put passwords in my wallet. I kind of agree with this person there, Evan. But then they go on to say, but I do use phrases as passwords. Usually they are mundane statements about me.
Sure.
So kind of doesn't agree with the wallet piece, because if that wallet gets stolen and someone figures out, I need to get into their, here I have their full name, I need to get into their Facebook, they might be able to do that, or other accounts. Right?
Yeah, and that's a great point. Ideally I'm not writing it down anywhere, and I'm not putting it anywhere. In choosing passphrases, they are easier to remember. So if you choose a mundane fact about yourself, chances are you're probably going to remember it. Personally, I don't write down passwords anywhere, and that's the best practice.
Yeah, exactly. Another text coming in, and this is someone who's very technically savvy. This person says, about 20 years ago, a more secure type of internet was invented called IPv6. Is it really more secure? And if so, why are we still using the old IPv4?
Right. Well, yeah, so IPv6 is still there, and it's, some companies have migrated to IP version 6, and IP version 6 has IPsec built into it, so it has security built into the protocol itself. IP version 4 was never built with security in mind. It was really built with information sharing. So there is no security built into our current version of IP version 4. And what's keeping us from really migrating from IP version 4 to IP version 6, I think, is it's a new way of doing things. And when you want to move an entire industry from one thing to another, it's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of money.
So even though it was invented a while ago, as this listener says, we've been on the IPv4, and it would take just a lot of learning curve to transform your whole company or change all these practices. Yeah,
it certainly is. I mean, for the technical, savvy folks out there, an IP version 4 address is 32 bits, or an IP version 6 address is 128 bits.
Wow.
So there's a lot more addresses and security is built into it, but there is a big learning curve, and a lot of, IT folks really aren't up to speed yet.
Real quickly, Evan, what about you're an employee at a company, maybe it's a new company or maybe it's your current one, and you want to make sure that just logging in at work isn't going to cause this thievery to happen, these cyber crimes. How can you have those conversations with your employer?
Well, have the conversations.
But what should people be actually asking their employers about what the company is doing to protect everyone?
Well, I think, just that same question that you just asked right there, ask your IT folks, ask, management, what are we doing to protect our information? Or, I read this online, one of the big news things that's going around right now is, President Trump using his Android device for, doing Twitter, tweets.
Right.
Ask IT, do we allow Android devices to connect to our systems? And, just start that.
And what kind of answers, what I'm getting at, because you're the expert, is what kind of answers do we want to hear back from our employers to know that it's safe? What do we want to hear? That they're doing.
Right.
We can certainly ask all these questions, but then what do we want to hear in return?
Well, what we want to hear in return from our employers is that we're taking a comprehensive approach to information security. We understand that information security is not an IT issue; it's a business issue, and so we're taking a look at training and awareness, policies, procedures, the governance part of information security. But we're also taking care of the technical pieces. When we talk about encryption, we talk about flash drives and mobile devices. So that's part of our security program too. But so is physical security. We know that no matter how good our firewall is, someone can come in and steal our server.
Right, and maybe they're saying, hey, just don't plan to do X, Y, and Z on our computers. Maybe that's part of what we want to hear back, right?
Yeah. Ideally, as an employee of an organization, I've been through some sort of a training program. I've been through some type of an awareness campaign. So I've been made aware from the company on what's expected of me.
And what's actually in place at the company.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What are our best practices? What's an acceptable thing for us to do with our computers and what's not? Mm-hmm. That should all be part of a corporate training program.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Evan Francine from FRSecure. Appreciate your time this Friday night.
Thanks, Rashidi. Have a good night.